All right, so this is my review of Rambo from Rambo 3 by Hiya Toys, and it's a pretty new release. I got him from Zombie Hideout, but you could get him on Gundam, Big Bad Toy Store, and yeah, I'd probably get him quick just to get to the point because it's pretty popular, and I did see him go out of stock in some places, so get him while you can if you're into Rambo. Um, so let's just go into the overall appearance of the figure, and let's start with that. Let's just get a height measurement on him. And, standard 1/12 figure. So he's definitely got some size to him. To the top of his head, not including the hair, probably 6¼ inches, maybe a touch above that. So pretty accurate. I know Stallone isn't above 6 feet. I think he's like 5'10" or something, but close enough. So just looking at kind of like the details here. So it looks dead accurate, in my opinion. They really nailed the likeness to Stallone. I think it's pretty hard to pull them off correctly. I've seen 6-scale figures, and the first 2 figures in this line from Rambo 1 and 2 looked a little off in my opinion, but this looks amazing in my opinion, so that's why I kind of waited for this one. Now, I usually just don't like the fabric clothing, and this is really no exception, and we'll kind of get into it in a second. Does kind of lend to some finickiness when you're dealing with his accessories and things, but I will say Hiya Toys does it better than pretty much any company I've come across. Aside from maybe Mezco with their Batman figures, which were also really nice. But Hiya Toys did some amazing things here in terms of just realism. And the clothes don't look like toyish. Like, they actually fit him very well. And I think that's one of the things they did exceptionally well here. Just, it actually is form-fitting. So that's a big plus in that in that regard. But yeah, so in terms of just overall aesthetics, I'd say no real issues. There are some kind of like shoddy looking parts, like his belt tends to look floppy. You always had to kind of retighten it. Other than that, looks pretty impressive. And this is coming from someone who really dislikes kind of like the fabrics on figures. So in terms of overall likeness, all that put together with the clothing, I'd say easy 4.5 out of 5. Okay, so let's talk about articulation engineering. Now, this is where the clothing starts to pose some issues, but let's start with the head. So head is just on a double ball joint, and he does have a neck inside the, he does have a joint inside the neck that you can't see. So very good head articulation that you can pretty much do what you want. And it's limited by kind of like the mullet, so that's just a given. And with his arms, they do come out straight. Now his arms are one of the issues I had on my copy. So very stiff. And it's not as bad now because I did kind of heat him up and things like that. But this arm in particular is very stiff, like the shoulder especially. Like, you really have to kind of fight with him sometimes. This piece here from the elbow likes to disconnect a lot, so be aware of that. And in the pics, you'll see kind of what the joints look like. By the way, all the clothing could come off, so just be aware of that. If you did want to take all the clothing off for customizing or whatever, you 100% can. So this joint does like to pop off, very annoying. So I kind of have to like pinch in here and squeeze on it while I'm posing it to make sure it doesn't come off. Other than that, no real issues. So double jointed elbows, they do look very awkward with the clothing off. I will say it looks kind of ugly, but I'm keeping the jacket on regardless. And see, here's where it kind of gets stuck. Have to kind of finagle it. And no diaphragm joint here. So no bend at all in the chest section, so that's very disappointing. But you do get a ball joint in the kind of waist. So you do get decent movement out of that. And you can look down, bend backwards, all that type of stuff. You do get a butterfly joint also. So he does have a butterfly joint, works decently well. Standard kind of ball swivel for the wrist. On the legs, standard ball joint. There is a soft diaper piece in here, which is inhibited even more by the clothing. Very kind of disappointing there. Could have had a lot better. And this is just generally why I dislike the fabrics. They always make you kind of pay in terms of articulation. And I haven't really come across a figure where that's not true. Double jointed knee works very well, despite the clothing. Now here, Hiya did something very intelligent. They used a double ball joint here for the boots, and that's kind of the only way to get around the kind of natural limitations you're going to get with like booted characters, because unless you put a cut like right here, but they used a double ball joint and works very well. So you do get a nice rocker there that works. Let's see. And, you know, in terms of just the flexibility of the clothing, it's there. Don't want to push it too hard, because I think like this is where the limits are, and you don't want to be tearing these clothes off, like, or tearing them up, I should say, while you're posing them. Now, the one good thing is, in this day and age, like, let's say you do rip one of his clothing pieces, Rambo just wears standard military clothing. You probably could get a replacement fairly easily. Just black military fatigues or whatever you call it. A sleeveless underneath. Very easy to replace pieces nowadays. You could probably find most of these on eBay, so be aware of that too. Okay. Now, in terms of just an overall rating for his articulation engineering, I will give him a 3.8. Some issues I had with him that I want kind of people buying this figure to be aware of. His wrists could be tight at times. I had to grind it down a little bit. Whenever I have to go in with the file to grind it down, that's a big negative for me. So I did have to grind that down. His bicep swivel, where you kind of need to take it apart to get his clothes on and off, I had to grind that a little bit. Technically, you could probably get away with heating the figure, but I'm too lazy to just go running back and forth to a sink with burning hot water to kind of loosen him up. And I think a well-made figure shouldn't have to be heated up like that. So, still 3.8, good rating. Unforgivable that they don't have any cut over here for articulation. Arm popping off is an issue. Other than that, no huge issues, but yeah, his articulation could have been significantly better. So, accessories, it's going to take ages just to kind of pick up each piece and show it to you. So I will just kind of show pictures and go through them. But, and he comes with a ton of accessories, so I'll just kind of walk through each one. And I'll show pictures of each in detail too. So he does come with, well, guns, obviously. He does come with an RPG and the RPG cannon, or the missile head, whatever you call it. That is detachable also. He does come with an AK-47 type rifle, and kind of like that mortar slide actually does pump in and out, so that's really cool. Magazine is detachable for this also, so that's a nice feature. He does come with a Dragunov, or I think that's what it's called, sniper rifle. Again, magazine is detachable, and he does get alternate hands to kind of fit the bigger grip on it more comfortably. And he obviously comes with a bow. I will say that the bow, very finicky, kind of tricky to get him to hold it correctly. He doesn't really come with like an appropriate hand accessory to hold it tightly. It does work, but you really have to be gentle with it, otherwise it's just going to keep dropping out of his hand. The bow does hold his arrows. That kind of like basket thing hanging off the side is meant to hold his arrows. I will say be careful with the arrows, because 2 of mine snapped, and I guess that's kind of my fault, but be careful because they are fragile. Little disappointing there. I wish they used a little bit more of a flexible plastic, especially for something so thin. It just kind of snapped like chalk, but not a big deal. I'll probably find replacement arrows. Like I said, finding stuff in the 1/12 market is pretty easy nowadays. Okay, so he does get that bow. He does come with different arrow types, and he does come with different types of bags. He does come with this kind of black shoulder bag. I'm not sure what it's supposed to hold, but you know, you could be creative, put whatever you need to in there. So it's kind of like just hangs off his shoulder. He does come with a kind of beige canvas bag, looks very nice. And the little clips on it are actually functional. So a lot of the clothing pieces here are very functional, like the belt, everything, all extremely functional, even his jacket. Now what they did with his jacket, Very intelligent. They used kind of like a magnetic piece, and it holds it very well closed. No annoying little buttons or kind of hooks. And at the 112 scale, I noticed a lot of companies just kind of, they're really terrible at like the finer details, like closing a jacket, closing a vest or whatever. Very annoying on 112 figures, but Hiya made it a seamless affair. Very easy to close his jacket, get pieces on and off. So good work on them for that. Let's see. And he does come with 2 knives. Comes the classic kind of Bowie knife. Comes a little boot knife also. You can see that here. Both look very nice. The knife does go into a sheath, which you could see in some pictures I'll be putting up. And he does come with a detonator type accessory. I'm not sure what it was. I know there was a scene where he just ran around blowing everything up. And he comes with a Molotov cocktail. He comes with a grenade. And he does come with alternate heads too. So in my opinion, kind of the default head, the neutral expression is the best one they have on him. Angry one looks a bit better. The one where he's just kind of looking off to the side looks good, but a little awkward. But still, they all look good. Very good likeness to the actor. So comes with a bunch of different hands too. I'm not going to talk through each one. Really, they're there for the purpose that they serve. They're just supposed to hold the different weapons. I'm sure you could figure it out. But yeah, you can see all the different hand pieces here. And he does come with a nice box to hold all the accessories. He comes with a very nice stand also. And I'm going to use this stand for my other figures because the quality of the stand is just exceptional. Very nice stand that they gave with him. Okay, so in terms of accessories, I will give him a 4.7. And only because the arrows were really kind of shitty quality. They did break way too easily, in my opinion. His clothing does get finicky at times. Takes a bit of work adjusting things on him, but other than that, all right. And yeah, he does come with a necklace too, which is very iconic, very important accessory. Comes with a watch also, which is whatever, nice touch, but who really cares? Yeah, so in terms of accessories, 4.7. Almost perfect, just kind of bummed about the arrows. Wish they weren't so weak, but it is what it is. And very solid set of accessories regardless. Okay, and in terms of overall value, I will say 4.4. Only because $100 is a bit of a high price tag for a 112 scale figure, but given what you're getting with this figure, it would have been a perfect 5 out of 5 rating. Only reason I'm kind of knocking it down is kind of the articulation suffers. There are some quality issues with the articulation and engineering, like the arms are too tight, the wrists are very tight, uses a very thin kind of peg, and it has that kind of like annoying mushroom-shaped peg, so it really hooks into the hand accessories. Absolutely hate when companies do that. So be careful, be very gentle with the wrists, do not break a figure this expensive. So 4.4 I think is a very fair rating. So the kind of fabric pieces cause issues with posing, small things like that. Wish he was plastic through and through, but I digress. So 4.4 for the overall value rating. So for a combined rating, he gets a 4.24. Still a very solid figure, I think. And I would easily get him again. So I think he's sitting at just the right price. And you'll be very happy if you like Rambo. So I know this figure is definitely one that I wanted for a while. So great movies too if you didn't see them. Okay, so if you have any questions, definitely feel free to ask. And yeah, thanks for watching. Take care.